Okay, so thank you all for choosing the spend. Sorry. Thank you all for choosing to spend the next 10 minutes with me. My name is Rani. My day job is not in cyber. I'm a faculty member here. But today I'd like to share with you some of the fun that I had a few years ago with a homemade cipher. So my talk is going to be on the lighter side. We've heard the guys from Cyber Reason dealing with a very sophisticated attacker, and Shira also described a very sophisticated attack by NSO. I'm going to deal with a less sophisticated defender. And I'm going to talk about streaming apps. So who here uses this music streaming app to hear? Which one? Okay, so yes, Spotify. And there are a few more. So here are the 6 most popular streaming apps in Israel. But how many of these were available here, say, 10 years ago? That's right, none. Wait a minute, what do you mean not available here? We all know how to bypass geographical limits. We have VPNs and whatnot. But again, you and I are not the average Joe or Jane, so officially there was no options. Okay, so time for a quick history lesson about the history of streaming. So wait, no, sorry, Karen, this is way too early. We said 10 years ago, not 50 years ago. And what was all this FM? We said streaming apps. So the first music streaming apps in Israel were launched by mobile carriers. So these companies, they often try to provide added value for their stockholders or for their customers. And it made little sense to continue offering ringtones for sale once people discovered the internet. So first was Pelephone, later came Cellcom and Partner, and they all had basically the same business model. You pay 10 to 20 shekels a month for unlimited access. Now the main selling point of these services was that streamed music was not counted towards your data plan, which was used to be very tiny back then. I too had a subscription to one of these services. Don't worry, I got it for free. But then came big data plans and big global players from 2 slides ago, and we all know how this ended. So on a side note, I hear Israel is quite big with technology. Would you consider Israel music streaming state actor? What do you say? Yes, so actually, that's a real thing. But really, we all know the mantra, there ain't no such thing as a free lunch. Well, we all had a free lunch, right? So the exception to this is when VCs are involved, or in Shiri's case, the government. So in this case, there were only 2 catches. One is that all songs were in Hebrew, and the second catch, it's dead, Jim. Anyway, we digress. Back to our streaming app. So offline music, that means it's not just pure streaming. Why can't we just download the entire catalog? Oh, Dr. M. Let me point out that bypassing DRM per se is legal in Israel, or at least that's what my non-lawyer friend told me. Oh, was that my non-friend lawyer? Never mind. Let's just have a quick look at what we have. So here's an SQLite database with metadata about the songs. And here's a bunch of high entropy files, each approximately 4 megabytes in size, and bearing the EM3 file extension. What could that be? Naturally, these files were not on the user accessible part of the SD card, but what's user accessible? So we have the APK. Should we just pull out the binary and reverse engineer the algorithm? Let's ask for an expert opinion. Actually, why even bother with assembly code when we have the Java decompiler, right? So we should pull out, wait, what? Have I absent-mindedly signed away my basic human right to reverse engineer? Oh well, I guess we have to go get at it without the source. So high entropy ciphertext is no surprise, but this is the entropy of the supposed plain text. So we don't have a lot to work with. Anyway, let's just have a look at the data. At the first glance, this doesn't look too promising. But after comparing with a few more ciphertexts, this is quite revealing. And here's a plausible explanation. It seems all files start with a common ID3 tag. Moreover, everything is encrypted with the very same key. And this makes a really good point. Maybe I should start a campaign, reduce your entropy footprint, let your DRM vendor know that you care. But really, let's just say that we somehow managed to acquire one matching plain text to a ciphertext. Assuming the key is really used over again, it means we can just extract the key and use it to decrypt all other files. We just need to figure out what exactly plus means in this context, whether it's XOR or byte addition or word addition or whatnot. And this doesn't work. These were a frustrating couple of hours. So let's take a step back and take a second look at what we have. Based on the ID3 tag header, we have 9 known bytes, 5 of which are supposedly zeros. And indeed, if you look at the cipher around these bytes, it seems a bit weird. And also, there's something wrong with the byte alignment, since we don't expect the 10th, the length field, the one in purple, to be all zeros. You could have more interesting phenomena here. If you look at the most significant bit of each byte, then it starts as 0 for something like 2 lines, and then switches to 1. So I'm sure I've seen this kind of behavior somewhere before. So pardon my French, but who are you? This necklace gentleman is Blaise the Visionnaire, inventor of the AutoKey cipher. Funny story, Viginnaire's name is mostly associated with an earlier, much weaker cipher invented by someone else. So what is this AutoKey cipher? AutoKey means we're using the previous characters as part of the encryption process. So kind of like CBC mode, but there's no block cipher involved. I suspect this is because block ciphers did not exist in the 16th century. Instead, the round operation is simply addition or XOR of the key with the block. So in order to decrypt a plaintext block, we just need 2 consecutive cipher blocks and the key block. And obviously, for the first one, you have a special case, you need something else. Our streaming app uses 16-bit blocks, so that is exactly 2 bytes, not too sophisticated. And as you can see, this is trivial to implement. And the whole secret is basically 4 bytes, 2 for the key and 2 for the IV, all of which happen to be decimal digits. So 2118, I don't know if this has any meaning, but maybe. right? So we have our code, and we can run decrypt our encrypted music file and play it. So do you have an appetite for destruction? Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming. I'll be around if you want to chat. Thanks.